for me, I like to go past that and try and create an even deeper connection. So what I try and do is, if I come across a word in Chinese, for example, now my pronunciation is terrible, but it's the Chinese word for war, and it's zhangzheng. It's something like that. So when I see zhangzheng, what I try and do then is go inside and I try and access memories. First of all, when I'm reading, I need to get the English translation because, I don't know what zhangzheng is. So I get the English translation, and then I only want that English translation to get the memories. So I see war. So, okay, it means war. Now quickly throw away that English vocabulary or your first language's vocabulary. And now I just sit there with myself and I say, zhangzheng. And I just, I remember those Vietnam War movies that I've seen, or World War II documentaries. The more vivid you can make it, the more realistic you can imagine these pictures, the better. And if you can go one step further, create a personal connection. So now for me, I have no personal connection with war. I've never been in war, but I can try and, imagine myself in a war situation and, feel that feeling of fear. So that's what I do. Whenever I find a new word in Chinese for me, what I do, I sit down with the word and quickly, maybe I'll use Google Images first, but then, so I'll get the English translation, throw the English translation away quickly, and just sit down with the word and say, zhangzheng, zhangzheng bu hao, war is not good. I try and imagine myself and, really feel it. That's basically it. Now what you got to do is, there's so many words. It's actually a bit of fun. The thing that I do is I just get a little bit of text and I use a website called Link. It's www.lingq.com, and it's got different levels. It goes from beginner to advanced. For every lesson they have text. It's normally a story, so you're learning in context. It's text, and they've always got audio that comes with the text, and then you can click on a word and you can get your little translation or definition, and there's an extra little audio button for the word. But what I do is I just sit down with the text. It's kind of like painting pictures for every word. So I just click on a word, get the English translation, quickly forget about that English translation, but then just sit down, kind of like paint a picture for every word. I just sit down and think, like I really just try and imagine, and it's actually a lot of fun, because the thing that you really want is a super strong connection between the language's vocabulary that you want to learn and the real thing that it represents. If you think about a conversation, if someone's talking to me, so in their mind, they can imagine, or they can visualize, they can see a story. Maybe something happened to them 2 days ago. Now they come to me, they want to tell me the story. In their mind, they can see what happened. They can see the people, they can see the place, things like that. So now, that person sends vocabulary to me. Now, for example, they say, I was driving to work last week when a donkey crossed the road. Now, there's a lot of vocabulary there. But now, as that person says it, as that person speaks that vocabulary, every word, last week, okay, so there I've got a feeling of past. But when I hear that word, it should automatically trigger a sort of a concept or an image. It shouldn't go from the second language to my first language and then to the visual representation. It should go directly from that second language to the representation. But just for this example with my first language, someone's telling me a story in my first language. When they say last week I was driving to work, so now in my mind I can imagine them, last week driving to work. I can see the picture, and then they'll say, last week I was driving to work when a donkey crossed the road. So now I can imagine, okay, well, they're driving along and now I'm seeing a donkey crossing the road. So, and then the story goes on, but basically they're painting a picture for me. When the words get to me, the words should automatically trigger pictures for me. So if I have very deep connections with the words, if I study vocabulary and create deep connections, it's all about the study. If you study and create deep connections when you study, I think when you listen, when the word hits you, it triggers the mental imagery faster. But if I study and if I only create shallow connections with vocabulary, for example, if I only translate when that person sends me that word, you know, if they speak that word to me, when it gets to me, I think I'm going to go through the process of translation, because that's the way that I studied it. That's the only memory that I have. That's the reference. So when they use that word, when they speak that word to me, I hear the word and then I try and quickly translate, and then I have to think about what the word is in my first language, and then try and think about that representation or the image. But then they've continued in the conversation and I'm lost. So when they speak to me, when every word hits, when I hear every word, automatically that word should suggest imagery. And it's the same thing when you're reading. When you're reading, you know, the moment you see the words, they should kind of paint a picture for you. So I think it's all about that point there when you study. So if you study, and when, you know, take your time with every word, just create those memories and connections with the vocabulary, and very strong connections, and with the thing that it really represents. And try and make personal connections, try and create a bit of emotion there with the vocabulary as well. And that's about it. So now think about that. You just have thousands and thousands and thousands of words to create deep connections with. And I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.